We apologize for our tardy beginning. We had a little bit of issue with our live stream, so we were just waiting to make sure we have that up and running. So at this time, I will welcome Mr. Bohannon up to lead us in our vision and mission statement. Thank you so much.
Yes. Dr. Wimberly, Dr. Robbins, board members, and everyone here, I'd be so happy if you would join us in our vision and mission statement. Dorchester School District 2 desires to be recognized as a world-class school district, expecting each student to achieve at his or her optimal level in all areas, and providing all members of our district family with an environment that permits them to do their personal best. And our mission, leading the way, every student, every day, through relationships, relevance, and rigor. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, board members, at this time, I would ask for a motion to approve our consent agenda.
So moved.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Guthrie. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Lee. Any questions or discussion? Okay, hearing none, we will call for the vote. The motion carries 7 in favor. All right, and the next item on our agenda this evening are our district highlights. We will welcome Mr. Bohannon again. Thank you.
Greetings again. 2 wonderful highlights today, and I don't get to talk because we have some wonderful representatives. I'd like to first welcome the Executive Director of our DD2 Educational Foundation, Mr. Ralph Hayes.
Welcome, Mr. Hayes.
Madam Chair Wimberly, Superintendent Robbins, members of the board, just a few quick updates of things we wanted to highlight the board on tonight. I'll get to the big event in a second. We're really excited about that. But the first thing we wanted to talk about is our employee giving campaign that has grown tremendously over the last year. A lot of that is thanks to the help of Ms. Kim Cahill, who does a great job of engaging with our educators in all of the buildings. And tomorrow is actually Teal Tuesday, and I just want to make sure everybody understands what that is. So once a month, it's usually the second Tuesday of each month, we have something called Teal Tuesday. Any employee through the district who is giving a payroll deduction to the foundation every pay period gets a teal t-shirt where they get to wear that on that Tuesday. And it basically just represents that they stand with the foundation, they're supportive of what we're doing, and that they're a member of what we're all trying to do in making sure we're lifting each other up. So when you see those teachers, educators, district office members, and everybody else wearing those teal shirts, make sure to let them know that you support the foundation as well. Through that, we also make sure that each month we give away $500 to an educator from one of our wonderful sponsors. And so that person each month is recognized and has the opportunity to really be showcased amongst their peers for being a part of that. So we're really thankful for that. And I just want to say, when you see those people who are supporting, we have everyone from custodial staff to district leadership who is involved in that. And it really is something that we're proud of because we're pushing it not as a forceful expectation, but hopefully as something that people have seen the impacts that we're making and they want to be a part of it. And actually our $500 winner this past month was one of our secretaries in the transportation department. So we were really proud of that. Another thing we wanted to touch base on is some professional development opportunities that we're going to be taking part of over the next 2 months. Locally, we're going to be attending a conference that's going to be hosted here in the Low Country. Thanks to our friends with the Larry and Rebecca Collette Foundation. It's going to include the Disney Institute and Franklin Covey, and so we're really excited about that, specifically geared towards educational leadership. At the state level, we're going to be attending the Together SC Nonprofit Summit. This is a statewide conference for nonprofits to basically get best practices and industry knowledge from all types of nonprofits throughout the state. And then at the end of March, I will be presenting at the National Association of Education Foundations Impact Ed Conference. So that's the national conference that's hosted each year for the industry of education foundations, for people doing what we're doing all throughout the country. But ultimately, what we wanted to take an opportunity tonight was just to make sure everyone who was aware of the big event that is upcoming. As many of you know, this is the largest fundraiser to support Dorchester School District 2 each year. We are making a big transition this year and moving from our historical location at the ponds to the Exchange Club building in front of the fairgrounds. I know that's a transition for some people, but we do feel long-term it's going to allow us to be weatherproof. It's got some upgraded bathroom facilities and some parking, and so we're also hopeful it's accessible to our friends and supporters who are from the North Charleston side of the district, trying to be a little bit more centrally located for that. But we are closing all sponsorships this week, so if you or anyone you know has a business that wants to be represented to our district and making sure that they're supporting our district, we ask you to reach out. And then, obviously, if you would love to just come enjoy yourself and celebrate our educators, purchasing tickets is a great way to do so, and it should be a good night to, like I said, celebrate our educators and also gain resources that we're able to use throughout the entire year to help fund projects and initiatives. Thanks, guys.
Great. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Looking forward to the big event, too.
Thank you, Mr. Hayes. And now to talk about some outstanding achievement at Oak Brook Middle School, please welcome Principal Ms. Bentley Lewis.
Good evening, Dr. Robbins, Madam Chair, and members of the board. I am so excited for the opportunity to share with you all and introduce Mrs. Rebecca Webb, the media specialist here at Oak Brook Middle School. Ms. Webb came to Oak Brook just 2.5 years ago after being stationed overseas in Germany with her husband, who actively serves in our country's military. Even from just our virtual interview, I knew she was just what our school library needed. In her short time with us, she has breathed so much life into our school library. She has imparted her knowledge and passion of education into our classrooms by partnering with our teachers in their instruction, while also creating initiatives and spaces for our students to grow in their love of literacy and learning. Her efforts have not gone unnoticed, and it is a true honor to share with you all that Ms. Rebecca Webb has been awarded the South Carolina 2025 School Library of the Year Award by the South Carolina Library Association.
All right, the next item on our agenda this evening are our public comments on agenda items. And just as a reminder, public comments on agenda items are addressing items on the agenda, and speakers may address only items printed on the agenda for that particular meeting. So at this time, we have one speaker, and I will welcome Mr. Jason Brockert.
Good evening. I would like to discuss agenda item 5A, events overview, but there's no amplifying information, so there's just a subject line. So I went to agenda item 6A, and there was just a subject line, and 6B, subject line, and then agenda item 6C just had a subject line. 7A and 7B, same story. When I got to 7C, which just showed up today, by the way, on board docs, because I've been looking at it all weekend, there was also no additional information beyond a subject line. So I have no idea how a member of the public would be able to get up to this board and speak about a board item when all of the items in board docs are devoid of amplifying information. So similarly, when I spoke at the December 9th meeting about the cell phone policy, because that was an agenda item, and I could talk about what I really want to talk about and not be shoved to the back of the meeting, which is arbitrary. I was told at a meeting that any member of the board would be willing to speak to me.
Mr. Rockert, I'm going to interrupt you. I'm sorry. If you would like to speak on an agenda item, you're welcome to. If you would like to just make a public comment, that's number 8, and you're welcome to wait and do that then.
This is still pertinent to agenda items.
I'm sorry, to which agenda item?
Agenda items 5A through 7C, devoid of information, as previously stated.
Okay.
A recurring problem at previous meetings, which I'm relating to a previous meeting at which I spoke on an agenda item. Do we not see a connection? I'm finding it odd that there are many connections that this board will not see.
Okay, if you would like to
And
wait
many
and speak.
voices that will not be allowed. I've been very respectful. I would challenge every last one of you as to whether or not I have been respectful at this podium for multiple years. Shake your head at me, go ahead. I understand that.
We absolutely want to be respectful of your time and ours and everyone attending and watching this meeting. So I'm going to ask you if you will please hold your comment to item number 8, which is public comments that are not on our agenda item. Thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
HonoringJulian.com.
All right. The next item on our agenda this evening is our board chair's report. And again, I just want to remind everyone of our upcoming events. The SCSBA Annual Convention, February 20th through the 23rd, and our COSPA National Convention in March, March 21st through the 23rd. And then I also wanted to go ahead and put out an update of our town hall meeting dates. April 25th at Fort Dorchester High School, July 17th at Ashley Ridge High School, and October 24th at Somerville High School. A couple weeks ago, we had our first town hall meeting here at the district office, and so I appreciate those who came and asked questions and showed an interest. We enjoyed having that dialogue, and we are hopeful that these town hall meetings will continue to gain interest, and members of our public and community will put these on their calendar and plan to attend. So just an update for our board to save those dates. Okay, and now we will move on to our board committee reports. First up this evening, we have our policy committee. Ms. Bates.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. At this time, I don't have anything new from policy. We do, if you take note on the screen, have a series of meetings coming up, February 24th, April 28th, May 19th, and June 9th. You'll see the varying times based on other schedules going on and other meetings. So that's all I have for today. So I look forward to seeing y'all there.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Bates. And next we have our Finance Committee. Mr. Guthrie, do you have anything
Nothing to report tonight this
evening? Okay. All right. And then we have Facilities. Mr. Farnsworth.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Facilities Committee met this evening prior to the board meeting. Great information. Want to say thank you to all those that were able to present at that meeting. You'll see on the screen there upcoming meetings for anybody interested in what we've got going on in facilities. For sure, and I mentioned it last board meeting, we've got a lot of projects going on right now, got a lot of shovels in the ground, a lot of really exciting stuff happening in the school district. So anybody that is looking for more information or just wants to be excited with us as we get into those projects, please feel free to come to those meetings. And then the last thing I will leave with everybody for the board, if we can, and I'm looking at Mr. Farrell and Dr. Robbins, if we can get the walkthrough schedule sent out to all the board members, So we do have our facilities walkthroughs that will be starting at the end of this month. So for folks who have not taken part in that process, it's a great way to get into the schools and really just help the facilities committee as we move into more so of the financial needs as it relates to facilities within our district. So a lot of stuff coming up for facilities, busy, and that's all I had. Ms. Powell, anything on your side for facilities? Beautiful. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, next item on our agenda is our superintendent's report. Dr. Robbins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We're going to start off with our academic report, and tonight wanted to present to you the attendance lab initiative that we applied for, and to present that process and the fact that we are one of only 10 schools in the country to be awarded this is Ms. Tina Bohannon. So if you would come up and present for us, Tina.
Madam Chair, board members, Dr. Robbins. In your board docs, I had Ms. Thomas put the initial invitation that we got from the Education Oversight Committee, the letter that awarded us to let us know that we had been selected as one of 10 districts nationwide to do this, and a little bit of an overview about all of the benefits, and we're excited about getting this. It is free, totally free. The American Institute of Research are the ones that have developed this. And we will have on-site visit at a minimum of once a month. They're going to work with, we have a district team in place. They're going to work with us, and everything is to combat chronic absenteeism. That has been a real problem since the pandemic with students not attending school. One of the benefits of this also is while we're combating the chronic absenteeism, it normally goes hand in hand with our truancy. So hopefully we're going to do it twofold, that it is totally free. It will be for a whole year until December of 2025. And we've already got our girls, Terry Wilcox, which I'll get to meet her in a Teams meeting on Wednesday. I'm looking forward to that. The snow sort of got us off schedule. She was supposed to be here this month, but she's not going to be able to be here until March 11th. But you know, for the last 15 years, I've been doing attendance. So when they dissolved the department, and I've just taken it over. So if you have any questions or anything, hopefully once I talk with her in that, and as we proceed in the process, then I can give you guys updates on, you know, what we're doing and that. One thing I will say is the state report card, looking at it from the 23-24 school year, we did drop our chronic absenteeism rate district-wide 5%. So we're looking to improve on that, working with this company. Any questions?
Well, I'll make a comment, and I will say Ms. Bohannon brought this to me and was very excited about it. She is the person that spearheads chronic absenteeism. She's knowledgeable. She is very dedicated to making sure we do the best we can. So, Tina, just on behalf of the board and our team, thank you for bringing
Somebody's got to do it.
Well, thank you.
It doesn't fall into a little nook, so that's how I get things. If it doesn't fall into a little nook.
Well, I definitely appreciate your efforts, so thank you. The next thing we have is our annual CTE audit. And I do know that Emily Duplantis was a little nervous. It was her first audit, but she's here to present tonight the findings, and I think you'll be very pleased with what she's going to report.
Thank you, Dr. Robbins. Good evening, board members. Thank you for having us. As Dr. Robbins mentioned, you did hear a CTE update today, but we saved the update about our CTE audit, which took place in January, And Dr. Duplantis is here to just tell you share the findings of that audit with you.
Good evening. Great to see you all again. And that is true. After 5 years of not having an audit, I was the lucky one who got to guide our district through the CTE audit this year. But I am very pleased to provide you with the results of that audit this evening. Give you a little bit of background on the audit process. It is essentially a 3-step process. Step 1 is the desk audit, and that started in December, where we had to supply the state with a whole plethora of documentation that they had requested, audit inventories, all of our financial documents, work-based learning documents, and the list goes on. At the conclusion of getting all of those documents submitted, the Tuesday we got back from break, I had to go through a virtual audit. So I definitely enjoyed my break preparing for that. But the virtual audit is through Teams, and you meet with the State Department auditors, and they can ask you anything under about 13 different categories. So we had to be very well versed in the history of CTE in the district and all of the different procedures and policies that we have in place. After that meeting concluded, then Thursday, we did a face-to-face, what they call an equipment audit, and that was held at Fort Dorchester High School. To give you a little bit of insight into what that looks like, we were there for 4 hours. They go into a teacher's classroom, and they say, show me X, Y, Z. They just pull something off of the inventory list. We have to find it, we have to make sure the barcode matches up, and then they check it off the list. So after getting about 30,000 steps that day, I am very pleased to report we found every single item on their list. We were prepared for them to go back about a year. They went back 7 years. And we were pulling items from 7 years ago. So we were very excited to have those results. At the conclusion of that meeting, we were told we have to wait 30 to 60 days for the audit report to come back. And within 2 weeks, we actually had this piece of paper in our possession. The state did come back with one finding of non-compliance, is what they noted in the report. And I'll just read that to you. It says, Dorchester District 2 does not have an established CTE local advisory council or committee composed of appropriate members on file. Now, what that means is that on our sign-in sheets for our advisory council meetings, we'd neglected to have a gender or ethnicity column on the sign-in sheet. So in our response to the state, we have added those 2 fields into the sign-in sheet. So we hope that we are in compliance on that during our next audit. But I would like to share 2 additional pieces that they did put in our letter. It says, Dorchester District 2 exemplifies the best practices model addressing the following areas: local application, CLNA, which stands for Comprehensive Local Needs Assessment, equipment, professional development, industry credentials, POS, which stands for Programs of Study, special education, and work-based learning. In addition to that, they added an additional note. Dorchester District 2 has gone above and beyond in ensuring that special population students are aware of and engaged in academic and technical opportunities that lead to student success in meeting career goals by partnering with Goodwill and the Economic Development Center. So we are very excited that the findings that they had were very easily rectified and controllable, and we thank y'all for your continued support. And if I can just have 1 second, because it's National CTE Month, I just really want to shout out all of my teachers, also Ms. Sue Stemper, who is my right and left hand when it comes to CTE and making sure that all those books stay in compliance. So I'm happy to answer any questions that y'all may have on the audit process.
Well, congratulations for surviving the first audit after 5 years.
I had to get a little touch up on the roots after that, but we made it through.
And I appreciate everything y'all shared earlier today, bringing us up to speed. I love audits. I'm being facetious in case anyone doesn't recognize sarcasm. But I do kind of struggle with what the 2 columns missing has to do with whether or not you actually have a panel. So that's just commentary. Would love to hear if there's any other sorts of non-value add activities as part of the audit. Yeah. And it sounds like the on-site visit was to test your asset management program. which is good. I think you use a lot of technology and assets as part of CTE, but I think the emphasis of CTE is more than having equipment sitting on desks or properly inventoried, but rather how are you using it and how is it benefiting our kids and preparing them to be workforce ready. So I'd appreciate any comments you might have on that, but thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we were able to address a lot of the how we use our technology and how we implement best practices in that virtual audit. And so a lot of that information was covered on that Tuesday meeting that we had that was virtual. So when they were on the treasure hunt on Thursday, that's truly what they were doing, is making sure that what we say we're spending our money on is truly there benefiting students and still in place. And I would invite any of you to come join us for any CTE walkthroughs at any time.
If I can just add, and I want to say I'm proud of not only what you do, Dr. Duplantis, and the entire CTE department, but of the district. And this predates pretty much all of us, but the vision for DD2 to create a very, very robust CTE program, well above, head and shoulders above other districts in the state. And it's really proven to be very valuable for us. And I think the real value add, and I had the opportunity, Ms. Matthews and I walked around with Representative Brewer a few weeks ago and had the opportunity to look at a lot of our CTE offerings. And I think what it does is it's very eye-opening because the discussion, unfortunately, at a very high level talks about school choice. And I would be willing to argue till I'm blue in the face that we have school choice. And we do a phenomenal job right here in DD2 of providing exceptional school choice within our district. And I hope more folks see that and they feel it and they're able to take advantage of it. So again, thank you for what you do.
Thank you. I would second that. Anybody else? Okay, thank you very much.
Next up, we have Student Services Report. Mr. Doherty is going to provide you a little bit more detail and follow up to some information on discipline that was presented last board meeting.
Good evening, Dr. Wimberly, board members, Dr. Robbins. This evening we have some more data, and Ms. Thomas, if you could click on that link, thank you so much. And this gives you a little bit of more information in this evening. I also have 3 principals with us, one elementary principal, Mrs. Hayes, from William Reeves Elementary. I also have Mr. Ted Brinkley from DuBose Middle School, and also Ms. Brooke Matthews from Ashley Ridge High School, so they can give a little perspective to this data. I know that's something that the board would like to hear, but the one thing we'll start with the high school. You can see one of the questions was, what percentage of our students are getting referrals? And you can see there by that breakdown, I believe that's 80% only have 1 or 0 to 1 referral. 14% have 2 to 5 referrals, and then you're looking at only 6% have 6+ referrals. And so again, discipline is to change behavior, and when we look at that, and you can also see that also up here, the biggest offense is tardies. The other column we have in there are merits, and this is all pulled from Educator's Handbook. Merits are good things that students are doing in our schools. Some of those are not always captured in our Educator's Handbook. And so, but you can see there where a lot of our discipline is. And I can let Ms. Matthews come up and talk a little bit about, since we're on the high school page as well, as about referrals. But again, you can kind of see the biggest offense that she is having at Ashley Ridge is tardies. And so, Brooke, did you want to talk and maybe a little bit more depth on that? So we'll leave it up for some questions.
Real quick before you continue, so is this just 9th grade data, or is that not correct?
No.
Is it 9th through 12th grade?
It's 9th through 12.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
9th through 12.
Okay, I was like, that seems weird for just 9th grade. Okay.
Yeah. So at Ashley Ridge, we really believe in just positive referrals. And it's not indicated on there under merits. We do what's called a Classy Fox. So we have a form that one of my assistant principals fills out or sends to our teachers, and they fill that out. And we celebrate our Classy Foxes that way. That's why you don't see merits. Unfortunately, tardies are a big issue. You have to look at that from, a lot of ours come from first period. We have a lot of drivers. We have a lot of car riders. If there's a wreck, if there's weather issues, we do tend to put those as excused, but then unfortunately they are tardy to class sometimes.
You don't have the data in front of you, probably wouldn't be able to answer this, but are some of those even like 6+ tardies? Like, it's not
Could possibly
necessarily
be, yeah.
they're
Yeah, it
fighting
could also-
or
absolutely not.
something else. It could just be 3 cell phone violations and 4 tardies.
4 tardies, or 2 bus referrals and 4 tardies.
Yeah, okay.
Some obviously could be fighting or
Yeah, some of-
major
yeah.
issues, but a lot is, you're exactly right, Ms. Bates, yeah.
Do you in your, I mean, and you
and phone, and then see what we're left with.
Okay,
Because
I can
I
do that.
feel like, I mean, I'm not saying those things aren't important. Obviously, they are, but
and dress code.
Yes.
Like dress code, tardies, phones, which are all, we're glad you're enforcing that. That's our expectation. But I'm curious, like, what's disrupting the learning environment? What's making teachers have a difficult time educating students? Like, really, we're talking about those.
Yeah, getting down to the nitty gritty, the
Yeah.
real disruptive behaviors.
Yeah.
So, because I guess, are those the type of things that would send a student to a hearing? Like, do you see what I'm getting at?
Possibly,
Like,
yes.
Not necessarily, though, the tardies, the phones, and the dress code. Is that right? Like,
that's correct.
Okay. So it would be interesting to see, I guess, how many of our students are ending up going to hearings. And then at that point, what's happening? Are they coming back into our schools, or are they going to Rise? Are they being expelled? Just a breakdown of that as well, which, I mean, I'm not putting that just on you, obviously. Chad. This is great information, don't get me wrong. But I agree with Ms. Bates that we're, we want this to be, these to be enforced and to have these consequences, but we also want to make sure that we're looking at the offenses that are disrupting our academics. And
Yeah, I agree. And those offenses we take very seriously.
Of course, absolutely.
Right. And I think that's our point, is if we can get down to like what percentage of the population that is, if it's 3% committing something like that 3 or more times, then we can do a deeper dive into how we're following through on those discipline actions, like whether they're going to Rise and all that, more on that, so they're not just automatically back in your school creating issues for the rest of the student population. So it's really getting those numbers are helpful for us to figure out what we're doing is working as well to better support you guys.
Sure.
Well, you know, I think I wouldn't want to minimize, and maybe I'm hearing this incorrectly, if there's a violation of the phone policy, that's a violation. And so
Absolutely.
therefore, I think it's very important that we address that. And if they're repeated offenders, then there has to be a consequence. Other than that, what's the use in having the rule if we're not going to follow it? So,
Yeah, Ms. Powell, that's not, I agree with you. I think that's what we're saying is that's important, but I think what, I guess my question is, and what I'm trying to get to and why I'm asking the question is because I'm curious, like while I expect that to be enforced, and I do think that's very important, obviously I revisited cell phone and dress code policy because I strongly believe in those being enforced. I'm just curious because I think certain behaviors are a lot more disruptive to learning environment, and I think it also has a different effect on the classroom instruction when a teacher is dealing with students that are fighting, spitting, stuff like that, versus maybe just having their belly out, which I'm not saying that's not okay or that's okay. For me, it helps to have that breakdown to really get to the nitty gritty of what's really disrupting instructional time and affecting our teachers.
well, I may be a little different about that because exposing certain parts of your body that should be undercover, I have an issue with that as well. When I walk down the hallway and, I'm aghast at looking and saying, where are we? Are we in school? And believe it or not, no offense to the males, but they're very visual people. And so if you expose all of that, and then you wonder why some of them are not mature enough to know to keep their hand to themselves. So I know it may seem like it's a little off of what I'm saying, but the bottom line is we want people to respect each other when we are at school, especially. And so we cannot say, well, it's just a little bit of body showing. I don't want to see just a little bit of body.
No, and Ms. Powell, I'll tell you, we take all referrals. If you're breaking a policy, you're going to be addressed.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure that that's clear too. I mean, we're taking every referral seriously.
All right.
Yes,
Because the
ma'am.
fight is important. We want to deal with that as well. But at the same time, we don't want to give the kids, it's almost like if you give them an inch, then they'll say, well, let me see, maybe just a few more.
Right.
And next thing you know, then we have an issue. Well, you didn't do this to that person. Why do I get in trouble for it?
I think we 100% agree with you. I think we're just misunderstanding each other a little bit, but that's okay. I love you.
Any other questions pertaining to high school?
Just a quick question. Can you explain to me the rationale around the green and 0 to 1? Is that implying that we have a bunch of people who don't have any infractions, and is that the majority of them? And
It is.
it is.
It is.
Wait, what's the rationale of including those who are obeying the rules and attending school and being there on time and whatnot, and including them in the same heap?
You want to speak to that? Yeah, I mean, it's the expectation. It's setting the high expectation.
So it's really just 1, correct?
Yes.
It's not 0.
Yes. 0 to 1.
Uh-huh.
0 to 1. Yeah.
That means in the grade level, that is the grade level that we're having the most offenses in. So it's most offenses in. So it's just not 9th grade, if that makes sense to everybody. 9th grade is an issue in all 3 of our high schools that have the most referrals. So, and the other thing about the green, yellow, and red, that kind of does mimic our MTSS process. So when you're thinking of academics, that is also our behavior issue as well. So when you see those students that are in the yellow, those are students we're trying to address behaviorally wise on that continuum. So I hope that makes sense as well. So we'll move on to middle school. And we have Mr. Brinkley here to kind of give us his perspective on middle school. But again, you can kind of see again what grades we're particularly having more issues with. And you can see it's kind of a little bit different in our middle schools, okay? And then also you can see the offenses, which the top offense is. And again, merits, those are positive referrals, and those are put into Educator's Handbook. And again, not all schools use Educator's Handbook. As Brooke mentioned earlier, she doesn't use that. She does it a different way. So you can see those merits there. And again, you can kind of see the green. And Ms. Thomas, if you can kind of scroll down, you can kind of see the triangle there. You're looking at 80, you can't see that.
84.
And thank you, sir. 84% there that have 0 or 1 referrals. And again, you're looking at 11% 2 to 5 referrals, and again 5% have 6+ referrals. So again, it's a little bit better as you go down in grades. And so I'll let Mr. Brinkley kind of come up and give a little bit of his perspective. And if you have questions, we'll be able to answer those.
Good evening. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all tonight. As you can see, the number of referrals and the offenses that are most common is different in most of the middle schools. Speaking for DuBose, ours is the bus referrals, but those are difficult for us to control as the students are out of our sight, out of our control. But we take every offense very seriously. But what I wanted to share is that talking with most of the middle school principals, these numbers are down from last year. For mine, they're down almost 50% from last year. And we all, when we discuss this, we kind of give the reasoning for as the Renaissance program that we are all implementing. And Renaissance is not really a program, but it's more of a way of thinking, a way of running your school, where you reward students for doing things, reward teachers for doing things, you build culture and community within your classrooms. And you don't focus on the negatives, you focus more on the positives. And it's really done a good job in increasing and improving our community. Oak Brook has done an excellent job with Bentley Lewis. She's really spearheading the effort in middle school. But it's really done a great job, along with other things like increasing communication between the admin and teachers, letting parents hear from the teacher first so they can have a chance to take care of the discipline behaviors before we take care of it at school. We want to bring the parents and involve them as much as possible so that they can take care of it at home before we have to enforce a rule here at school or enforce a consequence at school. But it's really gone well for all of us in middle schools, and we really appreciate the support of the board in our efforts with Renaissance, and look forward to continuing to implement that in the future. Any questions?
Can we get a little clarity on the where it says inappropriate and then refusal?
Inappropriate behavior is one of the categories in Educator's Handbook. It could be a variety of different things. Refusal would be more of refusal to obey. So if I asked you to do something and you refused, and it wasn't a simple request, it was something that's could be a safety request, it could be something else. The teacher or admin.
Any comments about what's going on at Rawlings?
What was that question? Rawlings.
Comments about what's going on at Rawlings? Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to think because, and I don't care, I can talk out of turn if that's fine, but I would like to think it's because I think parent involvement directly correlates to student success. And when you have a school that is a designated school where your parents have to take you to audition, sometimes for multiple times, and you have to be involved in playing an instrument and choir or all these different things that take a lot of parent engagement, you're probably going to see a lot less discipline issues.
And I would agree, echo what you just said, Ms. Bates. If you talk to Mr. Pye, Principal Pye, he would say the same thing. Their parent involvement is very high at Rawlings Middle School. When they do all types of activities after school, they do a lot of different events. They do a very good job about calling home when there is an event. Parents have high expectations. Not saying all of our parents shouldn't have high expectations, but again, echoing your sentiments, what you were saying.
I just think naturally with the process in which you attend Rawlings, you're already ensuring that your parents are going to be very, very proactive, very engaged parents. So, that's just my 2 cents.
I know they do sign kind of a contract for their code of behavior in order to go to that school. They have to behave, I believe, when they do that. That's part of the process. So, thank you. Very good question. Any other questions for Mr. Brinkley or anybody at the middle school? Thank you, Mr. Brinkley. We'll go ahead and move to elementary, and we'll pull that up and kind of look at that data. If we go down to the triangle there, you can kind of see a big change in only 0 to 1 referrals is over 93% there at the elementary, and you can see the 2 to 5 referrals, very, very small 5%, and then 2% are 6+ referrals. And again, this evening we have Natalie Hayes, principal at come up and speak on behalf of her building at William Reeves.
Thanks for having me here tonight. I would say with all elementary schools, we get the youngest of young. They start when they're 4 years old, but we are definitely a teaching platform. Teaching kids right from wrong, teaching how to share, teaching how to take turns, teaching how to keep your hands to yourself, teaching not to spit, like Ms. Bates said. So it's just a lot of teaching that goes on. I will say all of our schools now are Capturing Kids' Heart schools, which is a fantastic training. Just teaches about loving kids first, and then they're able to learn. At Reeves specifically, I can tell you that we really push the positive. We're also PBIS rewards, so kids earn certain things by doing the right thing. We have a segment on the morning show called That's Good Stuff. Kids are recognized for picking up trash on the playground or helping a friend or helping a teammate, helping out a teacher. So I would say at the elementary level, it's really all about the positive. I'm honestly proud of our data. Any questions for me?
Thank you. That's all I have this evening, so thank you.
Okay, the next thing I have on the superintendent's report tonight is our student transfer recommendations for your consideration, and they were in your board packets.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Robbins. Board members, is everyone okay with proceeding with that in open session? Okay. Motion made by Mr. Farnsworth. Do I have a second?
Are we motioning to do in open session or to approve the
Yes. Motion made by Mr. Farnsworth to approve the recommendations as presented in our packet. Do I have a second? Second. Seconded by Ms. Bates. Do we have any questions, comments? Okay, hearing none, we will call for the vote. All right, we will be voting manually. All in favor, signify. Okay, and the motion carries 7 in favor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That's all I have tonight.
All right, thank you, Dr. Robbins. And we have no public comments at this time. Yeah, I'm just making sure. Okay, and so then at this time, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, motion made by Ms. Bates. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Lee. Any comments, questions? All right, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Okay, and the motion carries 6 in favor, 1 abstention. We are adjourned.
I've been here all day. I might have walked in until 12.
We're just talking about discipline.
Huh? I might have walked in until 12.